just say this. Every label passed up on me. Every record company passed up on me. Every crew, you know, like I'm from New York. Jay's crew and 50's crew didn't sign me. You know, I wasn't signed to Nas, and you know, I wasn't signed to anybody, you know.
That was a part of it as well. She
and how
also
did Jay-Z ruin all these sports?
Oh my God!
Well, she felt like Lil Wayne. She feels like Lil Wayne should have been the performer at the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
That is funny as hell. Read that one again. What he said.
Jay-Z. She did a whole list.
She said, "Dear #Jay-Z." You ruined hip-hop, you ruined football, you ruined basketball, you ruined touring, you ruined Instagram, you ruined Twitter. The jig is up. All of this is alleged and for entertainment purposes only. And she also is saying, she's mentioning Desiree, who is one of Jay-Z's.
You might as well say Jay-Z's the head of Doge. Jay-Z invaded Gaza.
King Harris has officially hit rock bottom, the kind of downfall that no one saw coming this fast. His father, T.I., warned him this day would come, and now that warning has turned into a nightmare playing out in real life. The same young man who used to walk around with his chest out, talking tough and acting untouchable, is now locked up, stripped of his fame, his freedom, and every ounce of pride he ever had. Reports are spilling that King is begging for help after messing with the wrong people inside. Word is, the inmates weren't just looking for a fight. They came with a mission. Inside sources say certain gangs marked him not to teach him a lesson, but to silence him for good. Can you picture that?
The world know that Onika Tanya Mirage would never, has never, and will never speak ill of anyone's child. I am not a clown. That's clown shit.
A once cocky 20-year-old pacing in a freezing county jail cell, every slam of that metal door sounding like thunder in his chest. Witnesses inside say his confidence drained right out of him like air leaking from a busted balloon. That's when reality hit hard. King finally broke down and picked up that phone, calling his father with shaky hands and a voice full of fear. Just a few months ago, this same kid was online flashing weapons, running his mouth, and clowning anybody who dared to call him soft. Now it looks like all that fake bravado caught up to him in the harshest way possible.
Papa. Oh man, y'all are my sweet. Go get him.
But the moment King stepped behind those bars, all that internet swagger vanished in a flash. No Wi-Fi, no camera, no audience, with just cold walls and the sound of heavy footsteps from men who've already lived 10 hard lives. These are the kind of men who don't care who your daddy is or how many followers you got. In jail, there's no luxury, no special treatment, and definitely no second chances. Insiders say King's downfall started over something as dumb as cracking a joke at the wrong time, trying to clown older inmates like he was still filming for social media. But this wasn't no Waffle House parking lot scuffle. There were no fans, no flashing lights, no likes, just a room full of lifers watching a privileged kid test the limits of respect.
I've seen you boast disrespecting me, idiot Wilson. All of y'all, for some reason, when y'all are around certain people, y'all feel that y'all have this power. Why? When y'all have an affiliation to Jay-Z in some sort of way, y'all be thinking that y'all can disrespect and violate.
When word got around that the mouthy kid was T.I.'s son, the whole vibe flipped instantly. The block got tense, so thick you could feel it in the air. Suddenly, King wasn't just another inmate. He became a symbol, a prize for some, a target for others. Some wanted to humble him for clout, others wanted to send a message to his famous father, and a few just wanted to prove that hip-hop royalty bleeds the same as everyone else. Panicked and completely out of his league, King reportedly ran straight to the jail phones, his voice shaking as he called his father, Clifford T.I. Harris, begging for help like never before. "Wait till I get back and see him," King muttered in one haunting phone recording, his voice trembling, half angry, half broken. Gone was that loud, cocky tone he used to flex with online. What came out instead was raw fear, the kind you can't fake no matter how tough you act.
Say?
Second,
Tell me again.
the police officer told me we have to offload all the luggage
Okay.
and to search everything
Okay.
of your luggage. I'm so sorry to say that.
But isn't that what you planned on doing from the get-go? Why didn't you guys search it before it went on the plane?
They did just a random quick check, but now they want to open
Why?
it. And first of all, because you filmed him, and he was like...
Because I filmed him?
Yeah, he was like... he doesn't believe you that you don't have more with you than you say.
No, he asked me, do I have any more in those purses? And I said no. And I asked him, where are my bags? They took my bags and put it on the plane before I could know what bags are on the plane.
I see.
Yeah. So.
I'm so sorry for that.
Okay, of course.
For the first time in his life, King Harris was face to face with a truth his father had been preaching for years. Fame can't save you, and a last name means nothing when those steel bars slam shut. To really understand how everything fell apart, you gotta rewind to October 2024, when it all began to unravel. King wasn't caught in some wild gangbust or high-speed chase through Atlanta's backstreets. Nope. This all went down in the quiet suburbs, just a few miles from luxury, where life was supposed to be easy. Picture this. King sliding out of a gas station in his black BMW, music blasting, head high like he owned the streets. But one reckless turn changed everything. He almost sideswiped a police cruiser, and that's when the blue and red lights lit up behind him, flashing like fate itself was sending a warning. Officers said the moment they walked up to his window, the smell hit them. Strong and unmistakable. Then they spotted it. Weapons sitting out in the open, bold as day. That's when the smooth ride turned into the start of a nightmare he never saw coming. Then the cops ran his name, and boom, up popped a bench warrant from old charges he'd been dodging for months. In seconds, the son of a trap legend was face down on the pavement, cuffs around his wrists, cameras flashing from every angle. Within hours, the footage was everywhere, plastered all over TMZ and social media like wildfire. There he was, King Harris in cuffs, looking both stunned and smug, caught somewhere between disbelief and defiance. Now here's the million-dollar question. If you were T.I., would you rush in to save your son again or finally let him drown in the storm he created? Because this wasn't just another arrest. This was a generational showdown, a father's warning crashing headfirst into a son's ego. At first glance, the footage almost looked staged. King stayed cool, calm, even polite, like he'd practiced this scene before. When the officers questioned him about the weapons, he didn't blink an eye. "You're gonna find my guns," he said, casual as ever, like he was talking about snacks in the glove box instead of loaded firearms. That kind of boldness only made the story hotter.
Now, granted, Nicki said she's had problems with Amsterdam and the Dutch plenty of times, and she said every time she get ready to perform, they find something messed up. Now, they were looking at her bags. They had removed her bags either from her flight or going to a flight, and they said they took her bags off. They were searching her bags, and
because mind you, of course, she's over there traveling on a private jet, and so you go through a private airport. And then once they put the bags on the thing, and then it rolls up to the plane. Oh, okay, got it. And they took them right off. Got it.
Looks like maybe her security guards may have had something extra on them that they weren't supposed to have. Well, allegedly, they told Nicki she had to come down to the station and make a statement. And I guess Nicki went Harajuku Barbie on their ass, or Roman came out, and she behind bars now.
By sunrise, the charges were mysteriously softened, and King was back on the streets, walking free once again. Just another celebrity arrest, another night in the system. Nothing new, right? But the real damage was already done. Every major headline screamed, T.I.'s son arrested with guns and weed. And every gossip blog ran the same haunting irony. The son of a man who built his empire off street survival was now falling into the same trap his father escaped years ago. The wildest part? The kid who was born into privilege started chasing the same trap life his father spent years trying to escape. The irony cut deep, because for once, the world saw exactly what T.I. had feared all along. King wasn't just rebelling, he was sprinting headfirst toward disaster, and this time nobody could save him. Even though the legal trouble cooled off fast, the cultural storm hit like a hurricane. That body cam footage turned King into a full-blown meme overnight. A walking contradiction, a rich kid chasing street cred he never earned. Fans laughed, haters roasted him nonstop, and the internet had a field day. But beneath the jokes, darker whispers started spreading through the streets. Rumors that King's time behind bars wasn't just a one-night scare. Word was he crossed paths with the wrong people. That's when everything changed. It stopped being about embarrassment and turned into a story of survival. Because behind those walls, there's one rule everybody knows. Respect is currency, and if you spend it wrong, you go broke fast. King Harris, raised in luxury and fed on fame, reportedly walked in with his chin high, loud, and dripping with that same internet energy that once got him clout online. But in jail? That attitude was like waving red in front of bulls. And the crowd waiting inside wasn't there to play. But jail ain't Instagram. And the people inside ain't no comment section trolls you can clap back at with a meme. There's no filter, no delete button, and no Wi-Fi to save your ego. These weren't online bullies chasing likes. These were lifers, real hustlers, and men who already lost everything worth protecting. They move different, think different, and they don't care who you think you are. Word from inside says King made the rookie mistake of walking in with that same loud energy he used online. He was talking slick, cracking jokes, and maybe even name-dropping his father, thinking that being T.I.'s son meant something behind bars. But in jail, that name don't buy you respect, and it buys you attention. And not the good kind. Behind those cold steel bars, arrogance is a death sentence. You don't flex your fame or your family in front of men who measure worth in scars and silence. The only thing worse than showing weakness in there is showing off. Within just a few hours, whispers started creeping through the block like smoke. Yo, that's T.I.'s boy right there. From that moment, everything changed. Some inmates saw a golden opportunity, a way to make a name for themselves by testing the son of a rap legend. Others saw unfinished business, still bitter about how T.I. built his empire off street stories they lived for real. Suddenly, King wasn't just another inmate doing time. He became a symbol, a living reminder of fame meeting the raw edge of reality. Now, every step he took was watched, every breath measured. Even his silence started speaking volumes. Because when you're T.I.'s son in a place like that, you're not just fighting for respect. You're fighting to survive. And word is, it didn't take long for the wrong crowd to make sure King Harris learned that lesson the hard way. King wasn't just repping himself anymore, he was carrying the entire Harris legacy on his back. One wrong move, one wrong word, and the whole family name could come crashing down with him. Even Atlanta's pride, his father's legendary reputation, couldn't shield him this time. Now King Harris had the whole hip-hop world watching in disbelief as things took a deadly turn behind those walls. Insiders say it got real, fast. King was cornered, and this wasn't just about some quick scuffle in the showers. Nah, these weren't men looking for clout or a viral story. They wanted to make a point, a cold, brutal message that screamed, "Fame won't save you here." That's when the panic set in deep. All that internet bravado vanished in seconds. The cocky smirk faded, and the tough talk about being built for this went silent. Dead silent. Sources from inside say King finally realized how deep he was when whispers started snaking through the cell block. Rumors that certain crews weren't planning to just rough him up. They were planning to erase him. The threats got heavier, and the air in that cell turned colder than concrete. That's when fear took full control. He bolted for the jail phones, shaking so hard he could barely dial, his voice cracking as he begged for his father. "Pop, please, I need help!" He wasn't calling as a rapper's son anymore, but as a scared young man praying for a miracle. He hoped T.I. could throw money, pull strings, or call in favors to calm the storm. But by then, it was too late. Those checks his mouth had been writing for months, they finally bounced, and the debt came due in the harshest way possible, and the payment that came due, it wasn't money. It was his own safety. The price for all that pride finally hit, and this time there was no way to talk his way out of it. For years, T.I. had been preaching the same message to his son, "This road don't end in glory, it ends in a cell." But King didn't want to hear it. Like most hard-headed 20-year-olds chasing respect instead of wisdom, he thought he knew better. He wanted to prove he was built for the life his father spent decades trying to escape. Who could forget that viral moment at the Falcons game back in 2023? The one where father and son nearly turned the VIP suite into a UFC cage match, in front of cameras, no less. King was shouting that he wasn't raised with privilege, claiming he grew up at his grandma's house instead of living it up in the mansion that T.I. and Tiny called home. He wanted to show he was real, raw, unfiltered, and tough. The kind of man who earned respect the hard way through grit, not gold chains. Meanwhile, T.I. just sat there shaking his head. This was a man who'd already lived that life, who'd stood in courtrooms, heard the cell doors slam, and stared down the same danger his son was now playing with like it was some kind of game. T.I. had survived the trenches and worked his way out to build a legacy, only to watch his own son chasing the same darkness he fought to escape. So when that jailhouse call came in, when King's voice cracked over the phone, trembling and begging for help, the irony hit hard. This was the same boy who used to roll his eyes at every lecture, who said his dad didn't understand him, who swore he could handle the streets better than anyone else. And now, that same boy was crying out to the man he once challenged, pleading for rescue from the very world he thought made him a man. For T.I., it wasn't just pain, it was déjà vu mixed with heartbreak. Hearing his son's fear brought back the echo of his own past, the mistakes he once made, the nights he swore he'd never repeat. Only this time, it wasn't his freedom on the line. It was his child's. And deep down, I knew this was the moment he'd dreaded most. The moment life finally taught his son the lesson no father ever wants his child to learn the hard way. King had spent years trying to outshine his father, trying to prove he was more than just T.I.'s son. But this time, when everything fell apart, T.I. didn't say a single word in public. No Instagram rants, no flashy statements, no sympathy posts, just silence. And not the calm kind either, but that heavy silence that says everything without a single word being spoken. But behind the scenes, the phones were on fire. Calls were flying out left and right, lawyers being woken up in the middle of the night, old industry friends being looped in, and word on the street is that even a few OGs from Atlanta's underworld were quietly being tapped for help. T.I. was allegedly flipping through every contact, burning every favor, and calling in debts that hadn't been mentioned in years, all to make sure his son made it out alive. Because this wasn't just about saving a reckless kid who'd pushed too far, this was about protecting the Harris legacy. For T.I., this was more than a father's duty. It was redemption, a chance to rewrite a story he'd seen playing out long before it began. He'd tried to warn King that the streets don't love you, that fame doesn't buy protection, and that a last name can't save you when the lights go out and the cell doors lock. He knew the truth better than anyone. Fame doesn't make you invincible. It just makes you a bigger target. And now that truth was staring him in the face, wearing his own son's name. Inside those walls, everyone was whispering the same question. Was King Harris doomed from the start? Could all this chaos have been avoided if he had just listened sooner? Or was it fate finally catching up, crushing a name that was too heavy for one young man to carry alone? No one knows how this story will end, but one thing's clear, it's far from over. So what do you think? Was this all pride and bad choices, or destiny coming full circle? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this saga is still unfolding right before our eyes. And yeah, the internet's known for blowing things out of proportion. But this time, the whispers are getting too specific to brush off. Multiple blogs, hip-hop forums, and even street insiders are all telling the same chilling story. King Harris's nightmare isn't over yet. The danger inside those walls might have only just begun, and what's being said now sounds darker than ever. According to several sources, those gangs inside weren't just trying to rough King up or knock him down a peg. They had something way more sinister in mind. These weren't petty fights or ego clashes. This was a mission. In jail politics, taking down the son of a celebrity is like hitting the jackpot. It's instant fame, instant respect, and for some of those lifers, it's a one-way ticket to becoming a legend behind bars. For men with nothing left to lose, making an example out of King wasn't about anger, it was about power. The kind of power you can't buy with money, fame, or a famous last name. Inside those walls, a name like Harris doesn't protect you. It paints a target on your back. And here's the wildest twist. According to the whispers, King's own mouth made him a target long before his last name ever did. Insiders claim he couldn't help himself. He was mocking older inmates, talking slick about money, bragging about fame, and acting like he was untouchable. That kind of talk might fly online, but in a place where respect is the only currency that matters, those words were like throwing gas on a fire. Now, people are saying it's not just about survival anymore, it's about reputation. The same kid who once clowned his haters for being broke is now learning the hard way that inside jail walls, no amount of fame can save you from the rules of the streets. And if the whispers are true, the story of King Harris is only getting darker from here. King walked around that cell block like a superstar, chin high, shoulders back, moving like the cameras were still rolling. But then someone whispered the words that changed everything. That's T.I.'s boy. And just like that, the entire block flipped. The air grew heavy, the tension thick enough to slice through, and within hours, that jail turned into a powder keg waiting to blow. Suddenly, King wasn't just another loud young inmate. He became a symbol, a walking billboard for every grudge ever held against the Harris name. Every man in that place who'd ever felt overlooked by fame or burned by the industry saw him as the perfect target. He represented everything they hated about privilege: the gold chains, the fame, the spotlight that never seemed to shine on them. King wasn't just one person anymore. He was the statement. Insiders say that's when T.I. went into full-blown panic mode behind the scenes. This wasn't about lawyers or bail money anymore. This was survival mode. Because in that world, deals don't get signed with contracts. They're sealed with fear, silence, and favors. And when things get that deep, even money can't buy safety. One insider reportedly said, "You don't know what the hell you're gonna do with that," describing just how bad things had gotten. The reality was cold and cruel. King Harris had spent years trying to prove he was real, and now reality itself was what might destroy him. He wanted street cred, and ended up face to face with the real streets where respect comes at a price few can afford. And here's what cuts even deeper. King had just become a father himself in late 2024. Holding his baby boy, King Jr., was supposed to be his wake-up call, the moment that changed everything. That little boy was supposed to be the reason King stepped up, the push that made him grow and finally become the man he always claimed to be. But instead, the man who once wanted to prove he was built for the streets found himself trapped in them, praying he'd live long enough to see his son grow up. But instead of changing course, that same old cycle came creeping right back, exactly like T.I. always feared it would. One generation fought tooth and nail to climb out of the trap, only to watch the next one run straight back into it, blind to the warning signs flashing in every direction. It's the kind of heartbreak that hits harder than any headline. Watching your child repeat your past like history stuck on replay. For T.I., this fight isn't about saving his son from a few bruises or another mugshot, it's about breaking a curse. It's about stopping that generational loop that plays out like a bad mixtape stuck on repeat. It's about proving that hip-hop royalty can raise sons who don't crash and burn, chasing the same streets their fathers barely escaped. T.I. built a legacy from pain, struggle, and survival. And now he's watching that legacy dangle on the edge of destruction because his son didn't believe the warnings were real. Now the crossroads couldn't be clearer. King has two choices. He can grow up and finally step into his manhood, as a father, as an artist, and as a man with purpose. Or he can keep walking down that same dark road that almost ended his father's story years ago, because those gangs inside, they're not waiting for his next mixtape drop. They're waiting for his next mistake. And in that world, mistakes don't come with second chances. They come with consequences that don't fade away. So the real question isn't just whether King Harris survives jail, it's whether he learns from it. Will this be the moment he finally breaks the cycle and rewrites his family's story? Or will he let pride and pain drag him into the same fate his father spent a lifetime trying to outrun? But the real question isn't just whether King Harris survives jail. It's whether he survives the cycle. Can he finally break free from the chaos that's haunted his family for generations? Or will he become just another headline? Another tragic story of fame, pride, and self-destruction. The world's watching close now, and every move he makes could decide the future of the entire Harris legacy. Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think King can turn this around, or is he already too deep to climb out? Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and share button because this story's nowhere near finished. Every day brings new whispers, new moves, and new danger. And trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. The Harris legacy is hanging by a thread, and the ending? It hasn't been written yet.